I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like to ask everyone to please rise, and I'd ask Mr. Sadi if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Arconti.
Present.
Councilman Curran.
Here.
Councilman Demichi. Here. Councilman Riley.
Here.
Councilman Seabury.
Here.
Councilman Stanley. Councilman Taylor.
Here.
Councilman Hagershek. Sorry. Councilman Hollis. Councilman Cabo.
Present.
Councilman Sadi.
Present.
Councilman Visconti.
Present.
Councilman Trombetta. Councilman Knapp.
Here.
Councilman Nero.
Here.
Councilman Perkins. Councilman Shanese.
Here.
Did I say it right? Councilman Rotello.
Here.
Councilman Teicholz. Here. And Councilwoman, I'm sorry. It's okay. And Councilman Chimino.
Let the record reflect that there are 15 members present, 6 absent. I know that Mr. Trombetta is out of town on business. I believe Mr. Hallis is out of town on business as well. Mr. Perkins is probably working tonight. Mr. Sadi? Mr. Perkins probably working tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Tomino, I believe, is functioning at work at the moment. He may or may not be joining us. And Mr. Taylor, I believe, also is working tonight. Mrs. Stanley, I believe, is attending to a family matter. There's a meeting notice, official meeting for the Common Council for public hearing on item number 1, which is change of fees, fire marshal, Code of Ordinance, Section 8-33 and Section 8-34. Item number 2, pension contributions, Code of Ordinance, Section 14-8. Item number 3 is sale of surplus property, 6 Boughton Street, 116 and 120 Main Street. Item number 4 is airport lease, Westcon Aviation LLC. And item number 5 are road improvements, Long Ridge Road, meeting will be held at 7 p.m. Monday, November 8th, 2010, 3rd floor, Common Council Chambers at 155 Deer Hill Avenue. And just a notice to the members of the council that we will be holding a committee of the whole immediately following the public hearing to take up action on items number 1, 2, 4, and 5. I would ask that any member of the public that comes up would please use the microphone, state their name, spell their last name for the clerk, please, and give us your address as a resident or taxpayer of the city of Danbury. On item number 1, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the council? Any member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 1? For the 3rd time, any member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 1? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 2, pension contributions, Code of Ordinance, Section 14-8. Is there any member, Mr. Fountain?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. Mark Fountain, 23 Allen Avenue, Danbury, Connecticut. Mr. President, I just wanted to mention the reason and the rationale behind the change in the pension ordinance, as you see in front of you. As we strive to bring compensation for our city employees in alignment with the private sector, this represents a significant change in the way in which we handle pension contributions. This change applies only to the non-union employees who are hired after date certain And it does begin to require a payment into the pension system for the first time. And just so you're aware that all City of Danbury employees, fire and police as well, not with the exception of fire and police, clerical staff, and non-union employees do not pay into the pension system. So for the first time, we're requiring a significant payment, payroll deduction, if you will, into the pension fund to help offset the cost of the pension going forward. I also just want to mention to the council that we did a significant review and study with our actuarial consultants, Hooker and Holcomb, as it relates to the efficacy of moving to a defined contribution plan versus a defined benefit plan. Defined contribution more like a 401 style, 401k style plan in terms of the level of benefit you receive. What we did find is there were some significant costs to that kind of program, that it wasn't the panacea that we were hoping it would have been in terms of offering that as an option, and felt that if we stuck with the current pension system but just required a greater contribution, a contribution for the first time for our non-union employees, that would be a better route to go, both in the long term as well as the short term in terms of cost saving. So I wanted to mention that to you. In addition, this mentioned change dovetails into the change in medical plans. From now on, newly hired non-union employees have a HSA style plan, and we've sunsetted the older Century Preferred plan that we currently have offered to our employees. So this is sort of a two-pronged done by executive order.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the council on item number 2? Any member of the public wishing to address the council on item 2? Any other member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 2? Item number 3, sale of surplus property, 6 Fountain Street, 116 and 120 Main Street. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the council on that? Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, Honorable Mayor, Mr. President, Honorable members of the City Council. My name is Gene Iroquez, I'm the Vice President with Union Savings Bank. I'd like to introduce to you the members of our team who are here this evening, our Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Union Savings Bank, Mr. Jay Lent, Mr. Ted Backer, who is our attorney from the law firm of Kramer and Anderson, Mr. Jim Maloney, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Connecticut Institute for Communities, Mr. Anthony Rizzo Sr. of the Rizzo Companies, and Mr. Ron Carroll, the principal with the architectural firm of Perkins and Will. At this point, I'd like, Mr. President, with your permission, to be able to ask Mr. Lent to make a few comments to the full council.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, honorable members of the council, my name is Jay Lent, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Union Savings Bank. I just make a few introductory remarks with regard to this proposal that we're looking at this evening. About 2 years ago, I sent a very innocuous letter to the mayor's office requesting an extension of the lease we have at 158 Main Street, which is city-owned property where the Library Technology Center is, because we wanted to perform extensive renovations to the branch, which is very, very old and tired. Who would have ever thought that that letter would, over a period of about 18 months, turn into a $20 million downtown redevelopment project? So I think I stand here as stunned as many of you probably are. But as a result of that letter that eventually got its way into the paper, a lot of very smart people who care a great deal about this city took a hold of that idea and saw the closing of the police station and the 2 properties across from it on Boughton Street and started to have conversations. And from those conversations came this development idea. So what started out as an innocuous letter to improve one of our branches turned into a very, very interesting development project here in downtown. The first proposal that we were able to communicate was via a subcommittee of this group, and that was in July of this year, where we presented a 3-phase proposal that consisted of the bank building on the south side of Boughton and Main, and then the second phase would have been the Affordable Health Care Center with Mr. Maloney on the corner of Boughton and Main on the north side, and then senior housing is the third phase. What I think you're going to hear tonight is a sort of what we would call a revised proposal based on a lot of feedback we got both from the subcommittee of the council and the public as we moved forward here. So I'd like to now turn this over to Gene to give you an idea. But before I do that, I just want to make one other comment, and that is that when you look at all the parties that win in this, you really have to take that into account. One, of course, the bank wins. We get a gleaming new branch in downtown Danbury, which is also a couple blocks south of our main office, further than the south main office is now. So the bank certainly wins. The library wins, including an already built drive-up where people can drop their books in. So that's pretty exciting. The city certainly wins. The city library gets space back, much needed space back in that building on 150. Investment, so that the taxes they collect will be significantly greater. Go on with the sewer assessment, you go on and on. The city certainly benefits greatly. But also the community benefits. You're looking at a health center that's much needed in this city, the only city in the state that doesn't have one of these. And so that's very exciting. Also, the senior housing component. I think you're going to hear tonight that we were able to expand the size and scope of that. So we're very excited about this. Thank you for letting us speak to you this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Gene and Jim Maloney to give you more details. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Strike the record. Mr. Mayor, strike the record. If I may just move us through this proposal as it's presented to you. This has been a collaboration between Union Savings Bank, obviously the Connecticut Institute for Communities, the Rizzo companies, concerning St. Peter Church. We have been working in concert with the architectural firm of Perkins & Will and landscape architects of Godona & Associates here of Danbury. The first page beyond the cover reflects the existing site, which are outlined in yellow. There are 3 parcels of 6 Bowden Street, 116 Main Street, and 120 Main Street, formerly the police headquarters. 116 Main Street serving as the former Community Service Division of the Danbury Police Department, and 6 Bowden Street serving as the Evidence Unit facility. The following page just gives you a context, an aerial context of the entire area that's affected as a result of this significant reinvestment, both private and public reinvestment into these 3 parcels. The following page, again for context, reflects some of the adjacent properties, including St. Peter Rectory, which would be situated next to the proposed new signature branch of Union Savings Bank at the corner of Main and Bowden Streets. Of course, Elmwood Park, which is across the street, as well as St. Peter Church. The next context page also speaks to properties to the north of the subject properties, which include the housing of Palace View, senior housing, and the medical offices that abut and front Main Street as part of that project. And then, of course, there's various properties across the street, including Palace Theater and adjacent mercantile that exists in this particular area. The next existing is of the existing police station, the former police headquarters building at 120 Main Street, and its location and condition. And the following page is one that I would like to just spend a couple of moments referencing. The building program, as we have presented it, reflects Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 simply being the 2 properties of 116 Main Street and 6 Bowden Street, combined to house the new signature branch of Union Savings Bank, which you can see depicted on these renderings that are before you this evening, as well as within your packet of information. Phase 2 of this project is the development of the new federally qualified health center with the administrative offices of the Connecticut Institute for Communities, as well as the senior housing, which we propose to develop, or have as part of this project to be proposed and developed on what we refer to as Parcel A, or the former police headquarters, and as Phase 2. As we had met before the ad hoc committee of the City Council, we had made some revisions, and those I would like to note to you at this point. These are approximate square footages at this point, and will be refined, obviously, as the site plan is finalized, pending, of course, your consent and approval, along with all the other conditions that the city would require us to meet in accordance with planning and zoning and parking regulations. But the health center and the housing will be developed simultaneously as part of Phase 2. I'll refer back to Phase 1 being Union Savings Bank in that branch, which will be ready to commence construction in the beginning of the construction season of 2011. So in the spring of 2011, again, dependent upon city approvals, we will be ready to begin the construction of that building, followed by the work that will commence then on the former headquarters property, or Parcel A as it's referred here, of the health center and the housing combined. The other element that's changed since the last time that we have met with the ad hoc committee was our relook at the parking regulations and requirements that the city currently has in place, as well as contemplation for those that may be recommended for amendment through the good work of what has been the Downtown Renaissance Task Force, and a report that I know we're all anxious and look forward to its forthcoming, and I know the mayor is anxious to present that in its details to the public. And John Klein, who is our President and Chief Executive Officer, has gladly been the chair of that particular organization. But the new senior housing opportunities present to us and the likelihood of developing 46, slightly plus, slightly minus, number of units given the existing regulations in place today. And we have been working with the planning department to ensure that what we're presenting to you tonight indeed does fit within the regulations and those which are contemplated to be able to accomplish this kind of investment and reinvestment into our city center or downtown area. So as proposed before you tonight, we look at 46 units of senior housing, 28 which are approximately 28 which are intended to be one-bedroom units, 18 which are intended to be two-bedroom units. With the total number of units I will qualify to be determined by the exact mix based on need and the allowance certainly by the city for meeting parking requirements. These senior housing units will also be available for qualified veterans, including disabled veterans. The total estimated project cost of private and public investment that we'll see infused within these three properties will exceed $20 million. And if you turn to the next page, you will see the benefits of the city of Danbury beyond that which Mr. Len has presented to you, where the Danbury Public Library will endure the benefit of having the space on the first floor of 158 Main Street available for future needs, but where the city will have 24/7 municipal parking then dedicated for its purposes, and dedicated parking obviously for the library during its hours of operation. There are additional revenues that the city of Danbury will benefit from, including tax revenues on properties that have not generated any tax revenue for many, many years, including decades, and in fact at the 120 Main Street site for well over a century. So with the estimated taxable rates of the buildings and of the land at the 70% assessment value, with an approximate mill rate plus or minus, just using the 23, the Danbury annual tax revenue will be just slightly shy of $200,000 a year. account for, obviously, sewer use charges, water use charges, or revenues that the city will derive from building permit fees and the like. So this is a win-win situation for the city of Danbury, certainly for Union Savings Bank, and certainly for the people who will be served by both the federally qualified health center as well as by the additional units of needed senior housing within our city. The following page also speaks to the concept study that shows the layering of these buildings. As presented and depicted on the rendering, we are looking at an approximately 4-story building that would front Main Street and serve as the home for the Connecticut Institute for Communities and their federally qualified health center, and in an L-shaped format alongside Houghton Street. To the rear of that 120 Main Street property, stories above that to accommodate the mix of uses within the 1- and 2-bedroom condition. In addition, it also depicts the Union Savings Bank building, which will be situated at the corner of Boughton and Main Streets, with more than adequate parking to be able to meet all of its needs with the appropriate drive-through mechanisms for the convenience of our customers. Lastly is the availability and proposed parking. There is adequate parking on-site to be able to accommodate the housing as presented, as well as additional parking that is available, and that will be spoken to at greater length by Mr. Maloney and Mr. Rizzo in conjunction with St. Peter Church, as well as within the city's parking regulations as they currently exist, and hopefully within those that are being proposed. And then the last 3 pages just reflect the various sites, the different views of the site renderings. The first depicting Union Savings Bank and its Signature Branch Bank building, which is, these are all brick buildings. The second one is the site rendering of the health center with the administrative offices of the Connecticut Institute for Communities, and I'll note some of the architectural elements that are there, such as the turret, which reflect some of the architectural elements along that streetscape, including those of St. Peter Rectory and the like. The last is one that also gives us a view down Boughton Street, where you see some of the housing depicted as part of this project. With that, Mr. President, I would like to ask Mr. Maloney to speak specifically to the proposed project for 120 Main Street.
President, thank you very much. Jim Maloney, Worcester Heights, Danbury, Connecticut. Mayor Boughton, members of the City Council, pleasure to be with you this evening to review this with you. Let me start by defining what a federally qualified health center is. Okay? It is basically a doctor's office providing primary care. Right? So it's not a hospital. It doesn't do surgery. There's no inpatient operations, anything of that nature. It is fundamentally a doctor's office doing primary care. Doing primary care for all ages. So infants, toddlers, pediatric, adolescent, adult, geriatric. And through relations in the community, providing related primary care in terms of behavioral health and dental service programs. So it is a doctor's office. The difference between a federally qualified health center and any other doctor's office is that the federal government provides a grant to the Connecticut Institute for Communities to subsidize the care. And that includes free care for people of low income. So depending on your low income, below 200% there's a subsidy, below 150% of the federal poverty level there's a larger subsidy, but down to below 50% of the federal poverty level there is a complete subsidy. So it provides free care as well as subsidized care for the community. That's the purpose of the Federally Qualified Health Center program, which is a program of long standing. This isn't new. It's new to Danbury. As Jay mentioned, Danbury is the last city in the state of Connecticut, actually, including many smaller cities, such as New London, Groton, Middletown, Meriden. It's the last city in the state of Connecticut to have a federally qualified health center. The federally qualified health center program has actually been in existence since 1974. So this is a well-known, established program. I will say that it's supported, frankly, by both sides of the political aisle. President Bush was a very strong advocate of federally qualified health centers. President Clinton was, and President Obama is. So this has wide support among people in this country because it's recognized that this is a way of providing care for the community, particularly the community that can afford it the least. What are the benefits those are the benefits to the people who would use the health center. What are the benefits to the community? There will be approximately 75 employees in this health center building. Roughly half of them will be healthcare providers. And if you take a look, you can go on the web, take a look at comparable salaries, that sort of thing. Doctors and APRNs, physician assistants, they easily average more than 6 figures plus. About half of the employees will be healthcare providers. So we're talking about 37, roughly, back and forth, 37 people with 6-figure incomes working in downtown Danbury, working at this facility in downtown Danbury. Plus the balance of the support staff, they aren't volunteers either. They're paid somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. Total annual payroll for that 75 people is north of $5 million a year. So what the health center doesn't bring, I want to be candid, what the health center doesn't bring is it doesn't bring tax revenue to that site. All right? The housing does and the bank does. But what the health center brings is a huge amount of payroll into downtown Danbury, which then is available for people working, living, buying goods, going out to lunch, going to merchants, taking advantage of all of the great amenities of downtown Danbury. Some people have said, well, what we really should do here is just a lot more retail. Well, retail's good, no question about it. But in order to make retail work, you have to have customers. What the health center brings is customers for the retail. So it's a huge financial boost to the city of Danbury by having that $5 million plus a year payroll in the downtown. I want to acknowledge with appreciation the help and support of Union Savings Bank. Union Savings Bank has agreed to finance the purchase of this land as part of the development process for the health center. We have an agreement in principle as to that. Obviously, all of the agreements are going to have to get worked up. I see Mr. Pinter is here with his ears wide open. All of those agreements have to get worked up and put in writing and all of that, but that would happen before there was a closing with the city of Danbury. But I am grateful to the Union Savings Bank stepping forward and committing to do that. Similarly, I have a wonderful collaborator in Mr. Rizzo. Mr. Rizzo's here, and I'll call on him in just a second. But Mr. Rizzo comes to this both as a supporter of the program in its entirety, but also as the trustee, one of the trustees of St. Peter's Church. And one of the elements of this is that we are entering into an agreement with St. Peter's to use their unused parking lot. That's one of the reasons we can build all the senior housing that we're now talking about, is because St. Peter's Church is willing to have us lease land in their unused parking lot during the week for the health center employees who aren't there on Sunday morning. Right? Hopefully they're at their church or synagogue. Right? But because of that, we're able to provide a substantial increase in the original proposal from the 21 original units now proposed for 25. And that's become 25 more, for a total of 46. So that's with the help of Mr. Rizzo and St. Peter's Church and with the Union Savings Bank. I think the last point I would make is that the housing itself has been slightly, and Mr. Iroquez made reference to this, we have fine-tuned the presentation in regard to housing as well. We heard through senior advocates, not only was there an interest in having more housing, right? That was clear, but also make sure we have a mix of housing. Many seniors who might want to downsize from a house, for example, don't want to have just a one-bedroom. They do want to have 2 bedrooms. They want that extra space, whether you use it for guests or you use it as a den or whatever. We think that there is a substantial call for units that are larger than a 1-bedroom. So we have proposed here a combination of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units as well. So we think that this meets many, many needs of the city of Danbury, the people of the city of Danbury, and we're proud to have the opportunity to participate with these great organizations in presenting this to you this evening. I think Mr. Rizzo just wants to say a word or two. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tony Rizzo Sr., live on Clapper Ridge with our office on Triangle Street. I want to make clear that I'm not here as a developer that wants to purchase a property and put some kind of a promise in front of all of you. I am not here as being sent by our bishop or by our parish for them. I am a member of St. Peter Church and Parish. I am a trustee of our parish, but I am mostly here as a citizen with a vision. I mentioned this a couple things to the ad hoc committee a while back. Many years ago, it was over 20-some years ago, that for personal reasons, I had a vision to bring a community health care facility in downtown Danbury. I tried to form a committee. We're going back 25, 30 years, I guess. We tried to form a committee. We spent about 5 years to see if we could accomplish that, and we didn't succeed. 10, 15 years went by, and something came up with the Danbury Chevrolet location on 70 Main Street. The candles were relit. We started to communicate. It so happened that one of the individuals that was in office at that time was Mayor Araquest. He listened to the proposal of the healthcare facility. You know, these guys in office, they don't give anything away. They always want something in return. But he listened, and working together, the community health care facility happened. One of the things that he asked and sort of to cooperate, and I'm kidding when I say this, but he called me one day and said, you know, I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's a great thing, but our senior citizens are suffering next door, and what can we do to accommodate, or to at least wind up with a small amount of space for a hall for them. So the initial plan, for those of you that may not be familiar, was to take a small piece of the present medical building on 70 Main Street and use it as a hall, if you may remember, Mayor. Through our conversations and our sort of vision and thinking, the rest is history pretty much. Without going into detail, the senior center that is sitting on where it's sitting today, that hopefully many people are enjoying, that is how the senior center came about. That was our property originally. Mr. Mayor at that time, with his people, put the price on it. I couldn't argue with them, whatever it was. But anyway, we put some things together, and it worked well. And we are fortunate that again, the rest is history. We are, as we speak today, in the process, as you may have witnessed already, to put an addition on the existing medical building because the hospital is going to expand and bring another unit in that area. So from a sort of a dream, a vision, and the reality came about. I believe that what we have here, what I have witnessed here, originally I had one personal wish regarding the old police station. And of course, along with a couple other people, we went to our bishop, we went to our diocese in Bridgeport, and that wish or that dream didn't come about because there was no money. And then, of course, the second thing that came about was Union Savings Bank that you had just heard the presentation. And of course, what better people, what better community-minded people, and what they have done in this community. I don't think there's anybody that needs to explain it. I think what they have accomplished and what they have done for our city and our community, they have set the examples. The last that I am aware of in our area was the North Street gas station, Shell station there, that you would all witness what became of that. I look at all of you, and I look at the people here as a team. We are local people. We have to hopefully do the right thing. And I have to share with you, because I have some fellow members here attending Mass on Saturday afternoon, not to get into the religion end of it. This is only my own personal comments that I make. On a Saturday afternoon, when I saw the old police station and the plywood went up on, with all due respect to our mayor and our people, when the plywood went up on the front of the windows, I went into our church and I said an extra prayer to be guided to do the right thing. It's easy. The decisions are very different. We all have our wishes. Housing is needed. But sometimes to try to get it all at once, nothing may happen. We can go on for years. For how long are we going to look at this building? I don't know that. We have had other projects that developers came before you. Some of them got off the ground, some of them never got off the ground. I think again, as a citizen and taxpayer, I see something here that the right people are in place. No, 80 or 100 units of housing may not happen, and it's not going to happen initially. Certainly not by this plan. But I believe that if we and all of you together can come together to come up with a proper decision, that some housing, if it's 45 units, 40 to 50 units, and we can be grateful for that. I believe that if this project happens, that the rest of the circle in our neighborhood can happen. And I think more housing. It doesn't have to happen in one cluster. Personally, I don't know that I was ever happy with the 100, 200 unit complex all in one. I believe that I probably, if I have my own wish, 30, 40 units in one building, or maybe across the street something else, and I think that whole block. And of course, I'm excited and hopeful that our own parish. I mean, I guess I am in favor of the parish that I belong to. Center Street in our parking lot, and the bar that I guess it's not called the bar, but the small building on Center Street there that our parish owns. I believe that if that can be taken out of there and cleaned up and incorporated into this project, I believe that our parish can benefit. Now, again, for those of you that don't belong to that parish, it doesn't mean much. But I believe that the parish can benefit. I believe that the community can benefit. And on the medical end of it, I think some of the wishes and dreams that some of us had many years ago. When I talked to how really we got involved with this here thing, that I was with Mr. Maloney one day, and he took me on a tour, and one of the places that he stopped was on 57 North Street. And when I saw that they were busting out of their seams, I have to confess to all of you that my wheels started to spin, and I said to myself, this guy, we got to get this guy here. If he's got some money, if he knows how to get some money, we got to get him downtown. And so it started to happen. Getting back to our medical building on Main Street, 70 Main Street, and the senior center. When we can separate politics, with all the respect to every bulldoze in politics, and I'm grateful and very pleased that the people involved have done just that. I keep reminding them once in a while, but I have to say that Mayor Erica started with me on the medical building on 70 Main Street and the senior hall. And Mayor Boughton, that is present, saw it through. And I believe that this is what it takes in our community to see some of these things happen. So I would certainly, I'm in favor of the project. I think it's a great project. I think we have somebody, the thing that I said to Jay Lent is that the one condition that I hope the city will not accept is a contingency that they are able to get a mortgage to buy the property. So, but anyway, I don't think they need that. I thank you for your time, and I would hope that you look at this thing with an open mind and a favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzo.
Just to summarize and conclude, if I may, Mr. President, members of the council, this project does meet the health, housing, and financial service needs of the people of our community, of our greater community, and indeed it does more by providing our community an opportunity for infusion of economic activity within our city center, within our downtown, that will inure benefits and derive other future investments, not only within this particular area in our city center or in our downtown, but certainly throughout, and I believe fits one of the identified needs within the Downtown Renaissance Task Force work as identified. And lastly, I just want to say the Union Savings Bank is committed to meeting needs and providing the best service to its customers, but likewise we are committed to the communities in which we do business. This is our home. It is our corporate headquarters. We have been here since 1866 and intend to be here for many, many years beyond that. And we believe that this demonstrates not only our commitment to this overall project through our participation, but it does take a community together, as has been said by so ably by Mr. Rizzo, with all parties working together to be able to make this happen. We view this as one collective project. We come to you for your consideration of the approval of the transfer of the property to the Union Savings Bank so that we can indeed ensure that we realize this vision that has been developed and presented to you this evening through the ad hoc committee previously, and obviously will be before the necessary entities and bodies of city governance to be able to obtain the approvals to go forward and make it happen. With that, I just want to thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, for your time, your attention, and certainly we're here to answer any questions you may have prior to rendering any action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Eric. And Mayor Eric, we are not going to be taking action up on this tonight. This was public hearing session for transfer of the property. But the motion that came out of committee was that this will have to come back to the council after a deal has been negotiated with Union Savings. And we hope that you and your team, Mr. Lynn, Mr. Rizzo, and Mr. Mullen, will all be available again to come and speak to us in a future council meeting and answer questions for us when we're there and assembled for that meeting when a final agreement has been reached. Okay. Thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing? Mrs. Waller?
I live at 83 Highland Avenue in Danbury. I have no objection to declaring this property surplus and selling it to the Union Savings Bank. But I believe once the city sells the property, though, our chances of getting senior housing on the site diminish to third place. I do not know if it is possible to sell with restrictions to continue to encourage the buyer to follow through with the senior housing component. If so, I respectfully request that you put those restrictions in the offer of sale. The seniors have waited patiently for over 5 years now for the promise that senior housing would be built on the old police station site, only to learn this year that the property will be sold to the Union Savings Bank, a health center, and will be built on the site instead. It seems like an afterthought of 20 senior units were included to be built after everything else was built. Thankfully, that has now grown to 46, I think I heard. But it seems nowhere near the 110 units that we were expecting, nor the 1,600 senior housing units Danbury is still short. Union Savings is a very well-respected member of our community. I can only pray that now that they will recognize the need and follow through with the promises being made to the seniors. I thank you. And just as an aside, I really appreciate them listening to the problems that we were having and increasing the number as much as they could possibly increase it, especially from 1 bedroom to 2. It always isn't frivolous because sometimes you need a healthcare worker with you and you don't want them sleeping in your bed with you. So that you really do occasionally need 2 units. So that's very appreciated. And I know I've just recently moved some of my accounts over to Union Savings. That's how much I respect them. I like the new building they put up on North Street. It looks absolutely spectacular. And if this one is going to follow suit, I think we have nothing but pleasure involved. I am pleased that Mr. Eriquez, Mr. Maloney, Mr. Boughton, and I don't know Mr. Lent, but I appreciate you too. I would like to see it go forward, but I definitely, knowing the needs of the seniors out there, would like to see as many senior housing as you could get on that site. And if not, maybe we could all work together to find something else down in the general area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the council on item number 3? Sir?
For the record, Peter D. Green, 84 West Wooster Street, Danbury, Connecticut, home of the Hubble Space Telescope and the champion Danbury Westerners. Mr. President and members of the council, thank you for having this hearing tonight. I realize the weather out there, and thank you everyone for showing up. The weather hasn't been good today for us in Connecticut, but we will survive. Number 1, for those of you who don't know me, have been an advocate for affordable and decent low-income housing in our community for our disabled, seniors, and veterans. And I have 3 basic short points here that I'd like to make, and that's about it. So number 1, I have a question on proposed community health care center. Will this center be stepping on the toes of our friends at the Seaford Healthcare Center, which is at 70 Main, and that's run by our friends in Danbury Hospital, which are a very nice member of our community and have been for years and years. Number 2, at 120 Main Street, the old police department property, the site of the proposed 64 units of affordable housing. Why don't we simply double to 128? If planning and zoning will give us a variance, we should go for it. There are not enough units in our community of affordable and decent low-income housing for our disabled, seniors, and veterans. Number 3, on a side note, since Veterans Day is approaching, it's only 3 days away, I'd like to mention a nice woman by the name of Councilwoman Tysholtz, who every year organizes the Walk of Honor, and basically that honors our veterans and our young women and men who are currently serving now in the military. So on behalf of myself and the other veterans who have served and the young women and men who are currently serving, I thank you, Councilwoman Tysholtz, and thank you for your time, Mr. President and council members.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the council on item number 3? I have actually a point of order.
And through Council President to Corporation Council, I'm actually sure under parliamentary procedure, point of order is a proper way in a public hearing to bring this up, but I wanted to clarify the record. The item before us on Union Savings Bank is a report of the ad hoc committee, but the main motion that referred it to public hearing that was made by Councilman Cavo did include some additional language, and for the purpose of the public knowing what is before the council that will come back in our next meeting. I think either Councilman Rotello or somebody has a copy of that, and just wanted to have that read into the record.
You can argue that it pertains to the public comment. I think if you leave it at that, you'll be all right. If you want it read in, to the extent that it applies to why the public would be coming.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It is related to the issue of the declaration of the property as surplus, but it has a specific contingency in it relating to the property hearing back, which we did with your, based on the discussion I had with you on the dais.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear to the council, as the President stated, Councilman, that the purpose of the public hearing tonight is for the purpose of the statutory public hearing notice requirement in 7-163E. So long as this relates to that, if the council wants clarification for the public hearing, it's fine.
But it does relate directly to it, and because we've been tripped up a couple of times with some allegations of ambiguous notice or confusion as to what the council is or is not hearing from the public, just wanted to clarify that. And I guess without objection, I think Councilman Rotello has it. Mr. Cavo's motion.
Does anyone have an objection to the reading of my motion from the Common Council meeting on August 3rd, 2010, item number 18?
This motion, the main motion to refer the item to a public hearing passed by unanimous vote, and this is the motion. Councilman Cavo, from the minutes online, moved to declare city properties at 6 Boughton Street, 116 Main Street, and 120 Main Street surplus, to engage in negotiations for a contract of sale to Union Savings Bank to develop the sites in accordance with the proposal before the ad hoc committee of July 21, 2010. Such proposal and eventual sale being subject to a public hearing. Planning Commission report and return to the council for final vote to sell and authorization. In the event said negotiations or sale is unsuccessful, the property will be returned to the council for alternative decisions on disposition of the properties, including those properties set forth in Code Section 2-133, and that was seconded by Councilman Sadi. And again, it passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rotello. Any other member of the public wish to address the council on item number 3? Any other member of the public wish to address the council on item number 3? Any other member of the public wish to address the council on item number 3? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, airport lease, Westcon Aviation LLC. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. My name is Robin Kahn. I'm an attorney at 158 Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury, and I'm here representing the petitioner Westcon Aviation. This lease that's before you is intended to replace an existing lease with Sadler Aircraft, which is on Hollingford Road. My client will be purchasing most of the property, and we're negotiating with the city on a revised lease. We started meeting with the Aviation Commission. We've met with the Ad hoc Committee, and working with Les Pinter and Paul Estefan and Mr. St. Hilaire have arrived at the terms that are in the draft of the lease. We've also had input from the FAA and modified the lease accordingly. I don't know how much detail you want from me now, or if you'll be hearing later from Mr. Pinter. I'm happy to give you a broad overview. But generally, I'm here to request that the council act favorably on the application or on the petition.
Okay, Mrs. Khan, thank you very much.
Would it be appropriate to speak to the
If you wanted to give us a brief overview, then you're surely welcome to do that.
The lease would have a 25-year term with a 5-year renewal period. The first 7 years of the lease would be fixed at $6,000 per acre. This is based on a new appraisal that was obtained for the city earlier in the summer. And then there would, at the end of that 7-year period, the lease would be increased, or the rent would be increased annually by the CPI adjustment. We've added provisions that the FAA has asked for in terms of access to the airport. And for the most part, the lease echoes the existing lease, other than the increase in the rent. So that's the general overview.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 4? Any other member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 4? Any other member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 5, road improvements, Long Ridge Road. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the council on item number 5? Any member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 5? Any other member of the public wishing to address the council on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll move on to a motion to close the public hearing. Second. I'm sorry, who made the motion? Mr. Rotello, and seconded by Mr. Nattershall. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.